Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first storytelling session. Today, I'm going to be telling you the story of Rumpelstiltskin with our good friend here. Hey guys, I'm literally you, but if you could talk live, let me know in the comments what kinds of things you want to know about the story if I miss anything this first time around. So, for everyone at home, grab your snacks, a drink, and get comfortable as we dive into the story of Rumpelstiltskin, read from the Blue Fairy book by Andrew Lang. I don't really care for Rumpelstiltskin, but I've heard and seen him in a lot of fairy tale media, like Shrek and Once Upon a Time. What's his deal? Why is he so grimy and like devilish? What do you mean by grimy and devilish? He's always making a deal with weird consequences. Ah, let's read this version of his original story and find out. There was once upon a time a poor miller who had a very beautiful daughter. Now it happened one day that he had an audience with the king, and in order to appear a person of some importance, he told him that he had a daughter who could spin straw into gold. "Now that's a talent worth having," said the king to the miller. "If your daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to my palace tomorrow and I'll put her to the test." When the girl was brought to him, he had led her into a room full of straw and gave her a spinning wheel and spindle and said, "Now set to work and spin all night till early dawn. And if by that time you haven't spun the straw into gold, you shall die." Then he closed the door behind him and left her all alone inside. Whoa, hang on. Not her dad setting her up so he looks good. I know, right? I don't really know what universe this is set in besides maybe one where things like this are natural. The king believed her dad and was like, yeah, seems pretty useful. Like, that wouldn't be the craziest thing in today's world. I literally want to understand the thought process of wanting to seem important so you lie about your daughter versus yourself. That's twisted. It is. So the poor miller's daughter sat down and didn't know what in the world she was to do. She hadn't the least idea of how to spin straw into gold and became at last so miserable that she began to cry. Suddenly, the door opened and in stepped a tiny little man and said, "Good evening, Miss Miller Maid. Why are you crying so bitterly?" "Oh," answered the girl, "I have to spin straw into gold and I haven't a notion how it's done." "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" asked the man again. "My necklace," replied the girl. The little man took the necklace, sat himself down at the wheel, and whir, the wheel went round 3 times and the bobbin was full. Then he put on another, and whir, the wheel went round 3 times and the second too was full. So it went on till the morning, when all the straw was spun away and all the bobbins were full of gold. As soon as the sun rose, the king came, and when he perceived the gold, he was astonished and delighted, but his heart only lusted more than ever after the precious metal. Okay, so we're not gonna die, but brother, how can a necklace be worth so much gold? What even is a bobbin? A bobbin is what holds threads, yarns, etc. during the process of using a spinning wheel to create said threads. So there are many different kinds of spinning wheels, but they all work similarly for the same result. You feed material fibers from sources like cotton, flax, or sheep into a tunnel, and as you press on the foot pedal, the wheel portion of the machine twists those fibers into yarn and spins the finished product onto a bobbin. So this entity is using straws as fiber, but as it twists, he can make it go from straw to yarn to pure gold. That's what her father thought she could do on her own? No magic. Yes. Think of the design of a bobbin, like a dumbbell, but they can be various sizes and widths. The common size is a bit bigger than the size of your closed fist. So she's meant to produce multiple bobbins of gold. That's a lot of yarn and straw. Damn. Well, is he cute? I mean, he can make straw into gold. Hello? He's often depicted as either very grotesque or very manipulative, which he is. He's not just a short king, but a disheveled creature, like a gnome, but with the look of a 500 plus year old reptile or old man with obvious hygiene issues. but straw into gold. He also likes newborns. Huh? He had the miller's daughter put into another room full of straw, much bigger than the first, and bade her, if she valued her life, spin it all into gold before the following morning. The girl didn't know what to do and began to cry. Then the door opened as before, and the tiny little man appeared and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you?" "The ring from my finger," answered the girl. The mannequin took the ring, and whir around went the spinning wheel again. And when morning broke, he had spun all the straw into glittering gold. The king was pleased beyond measure at the sights, but his greed for gold was still not satisfied, and he had the miller's daughter brought into a yet bigger room full of straw, and said, "You must spin all this away in the night, but if you succeed this time, you shall become my wife." "She's only a miller's daughter, it's true," he thought, "but I couldn't find a richer wife if I were to search the whole world over." When the girl was alone, the little man appeared for the third time and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw for you once again?" "I've nothing more to give," answered the girl. "Then promise me when you are queen to give me your first child." "Who knows what may not happen before that?" thought the miller's daughter, and besides, she saw no other way out of it. So she promised the mannequin what he demanded, and he set to work once more and spun the straw into gold. When the king came in the morning and found everything as he desired, he straightway made her his wife, and the miller's daughter became a queen. You have nothing to say? So much just happened. I feel so bad for her, but like, where are our survival skills? I guess she's been in some kind of pickle these 3 nights, but she's like, I mean, that's your man. He's just being nice. You're not gonna stick beside him? Hell nah. I just want to know how we went from necklaces and rings to an unborn baby. I sympathize with him. He spun all this gold. The least she can do is give her baby. Don't piss me off. He's weird. Why a baby? No one knows, but people always assume he's either a devil that eats babies or he wants to raise a kid because he can't have any himself. Because he's a gross imp. Because he's a gross imp, even though you wanted him not too long ago. You better cut that out of the video. Moving on. Hello? When a year had passed, a beautiful son was born to her, and she thought no more of the little man, till all of a sudden one day he stepped into her room and said, "Now give me what you promised." The queen was in a great state and offered the little man all the riches in her kingdom if he would only leave her the child. But the mannequin said, "No, a living creature is dearer to me than all the treasures in the world." Then the queen began to cry and sob so bitterly that the little man was sorry for her and said, "I'll give you 3 days to guess my name, and if you find it out in that time, you may keep your child." Then the queen pondered the whole night over all the names she had ever heard, and sent a messenger to scour the land and to pick up far and near any names he could come across. When the little man arrived on the following day, she began with Casper, Melchior, Belshazzar, and all the other names she knew in a string, but at each one the mannequin called out, "That's not my name." The next day she sent to inquire the names of all the people in the neighborhood, and had a long list of the most uncommon and extraordinary for the little man when he made his appearance. "Is your name perhaps Sheepshanks, Cruikshanks, Spindleshanks?" But he always replied, "That's not my name." I bet it's Rutabaga. He probably looks like one too. Not too much on your man. He is not my man. On the third day, the messenger returned and announced, "I've not been able to find any new names, but as I came upon a high hill round the corner of the wood, where the foxes and hares bid each other good night, I saw a little house, and in front of the house burned a fire, and round the fire sprang the most grotesque little man, hopping on one leg and crying, 'Tomorrow I brew, today I bake, and then the child away I'll take. For little deems my royal dame that Rumpelstiltskin is my name.'" I know you're lying. Is he stupid? What the heck is this creature's deal? He's over here telling the whole forest his business when he's also trying to be this mischievous guy. Honestly, I feel like he's maybe a romantic. Like he's doing it on purpose and knew the messenger was there the whole time searching for names. Maybe he's a nice creature helping people with awful fathers and teaching them not to trust strangers. Oh my gosh, what if he never wanted the baby? One of my biggest hear me outs have always been Rumpelstiltskin from Once Upon a Time, where it was just lonely. Or he's an evil creature that lures distressed individuals into deals that cause them to bargain things they don't have until the person gets it and realizes they want to keep it. Oh, pish posh. So he's back to being your man. No, but he was spitting when he said a living creature was more precious to him than material items. Green flag, he's not materialistic. You can imagine the queen's delight at hearing the name, and when the little man stepped in shortly afterward and asked, "Now, my lady queen, what is my name?" She asked first, "Is your name Conrad?" "No." "Is your name Harry?" "No." "Is your name perhaps Rumpelstiltskin?" "Some demon has told you that! Some demon has told you that!" screamed the little man, and in his rage drove his right foot so far into the ground that it sank in up to his waist. Then, in a passion, he seized the left foot with both hands and tore himself in two. Oh, ew. Sore loser much? And was she flirting with him, talking about some Conrad, Harry? Girl, you know his name. We don't have time for this. I think he's her fairy godmother. He heard her crying and appeared, so I feel like he heard the guard before he came in shortly after and wanted to disappear in a dramatic way, since she no longer needs him. She started as an offering to the king and ended up with a baby she wants, wealth, and as queen. And I bet she'll never offer up an unborn child again. I mean, you know humans. What do you think the lesson is? Always know the name of who you're dealing with. Have receipts. For me, I think it's don't offer up what you don't have. Maybe in today's world, that could be being careful with credit. Or spending money on V-Bucks assuming your paycheck will come through and knowing dang well you're gonna have to eat that skin or emote for dinner. Not too much on me. What about you? What do you think the moral of the story is? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you in the next video.